In comping study 1, we're going to look at chord fragments that involve the D, G, and B strings primarily. And so, with our Freddie Green chords, we're more, these are really, in terms of their sound within a band context, they're meant to be felt rather than heard, because the bass notes can be really conflicting if you say you have, a keyboard player or a piano player playing bass notes and your bass player playing bass notes. You could all be playing slightly different inversions, and it can get kind of cacophonous if you're not in sync, So with louder, particularly with jump or more raucous kind of contexts, these are going to be more appropriate chords. Now these chords work equally well over mellow mid-tempo swing as we're going to kind of go through them in this example. But I'm just pointing out sonically, you're going to be probably working more with these kind of chord shapes in a louder, amplified context. Freddie Green of the Count Basie Orchestra, he actually played an acoustic archtop, so he was providing almost like a percussive rhythmic element there, and we can definitely do that with an electric guitar. We just have to be mellow about it and really keep it sweet and just more felt than heard. So in these were definitely kind of coming into the forefront, these kind of chord shapes on the higher strings, and we're grooving, but we're standing out a little more. So without further ado, let's dive into this first example. The first chord here is this dominant 7, and it's a chord fragment, just a 3-note chord fragment with the D, G, and B strings, and we're barring the 6th fret with our first finger, and we're picking up that major third on the 7th fret of the G with our middle finger. So we've got the dominant 7 of G, which is G sharp, the E note there for the major third, the D note, and the 5 on top. We slide in, so we approach that 4 chord. Now we can think of this two ways. We can think of this as a half step from our last example, a half step approach, so an E9 to a E flat 9, with E flat being the 4 chord, right? E9. Playing the full chord there, but the fragment is what we're working with. Or we can think of it, again, multiple ways to think of things, as here's our B flat 7, we sharp the 5. So a B flat 7 sharp 5. It's either chord, right? E9. You might finger it slightly differently. You could finger it this way. But I like to, there's subtle slides in this, so it's easier to finger it as a 9 shape. All right, so now we're into the 4 chord, and we approach from a half step again. Right? Then back to the 1, half step below. Right? And now we have this nice voice leading move here from this great little chord fragment. It's like it's got the 7 on the bottom, the major third with your middle finger on the G string, and the 6. So it's like a 13 chord, but it's only those 3 strings, G, B, and E. So this is our transition into the 4. We're doing this nice voice leading, which goes into our sharp 5, B flat 7 sharp 5, or E9, as we talked about in the last change. So here we go. Okay, and now we're coming into that key transitional element in the 7th and 8th measure, and we come around to, right? There's that sound again, that leading into our 2-5-1. So in this case, and then the 8th measure, we're descending straight from the 3, as we did in the last example, in the half-stepping example. Rather than doing the 6th there, we're doing a C sharp minor 7. So it's right, and we're kind of now visualizing all these chords, on the top 3 strings. So I'm sorry, on the D, G, and B strings. So that's our D minor 7 there, right? And it's comfortable for us from a blues, visual perspective, because there's our D blues box, and that's our D minor 7 with the 7 in the bass. Into the 2 right there. 5, okay, right? Top half of the 5, but we're only going as far as the 9 there on the B string. Half step approach into the 1. There's that 6, 2, 5, back to the 1. Okay, so key concepts in this are the sliding chords, right? The different way to think about this change into the 4 chord. We can think of it either as a sharp 5 or a half step approach from an E9 to a E flat 9 for that 4 chord. And then that, again, I'm going to hammer it home, that 7th and 8th measure transition. And then our 1-6-2-5, but on the top, on these D, G, and B strings. So in the next exercise, we're going to look at a very similar approach, but we're going to add some really cool new chord textures. So let's dive right into it.